Hello. Easter season has flown, hasn't it? The Feast of the Ascension is next Thursday, with Pentecost coming on May 28th. Along the way, we will honor mothers this Sunday and enjoy Youth and Graduation Sunday on May 21st. Again, Pentecost is the 28th, and then the Sunday after Pentecost, Trinity Sunday, we will also celebrate Rogation that day at the Rhines Country House, and that's June 4th. So mark those calendars. But Ascension is important to Jesus' disciples and to us because it means that he's about to go away. Everything that his friends and disciples know of him and do in his name, they'll shortly do in the absence of their beloved teacher and in the quite different presence of God, the Holy Spirit. And Jesus speaks of his absence and departure, but promises his disciples the gift of the Spirit. His absence will leave an empty place in their lives, but this place will be filled with the divine presence as the Spirit will show them. He says, "Those who love me will keep my word, and my Father will love them, and we will come to them and make our home with them." John the Evangelist presents the presence of Jesus and his Father through this work of the Spirit as the source of peace for his disciples. "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give as the world gives," Jesus says. And in saying farewell to his disciples, Jesus does not just leave a legacy of peace. He also promises a way that his legacy can continue to live and move and have its being. Jesus promises this Holy Spirit, an advocate, a counselor, a comforter, who will come to be the living power of God in their lives and in our lives. He promises, in Michael Linvall's phrase, the present tense of God, now and forever. As Trinitarians, those of us who profess faith in a God who is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, we're bold to proclaim that God is here right now, here in our midst, here in our lives, here in our world, here in our hearts and our wills and our bodies. God is a permeating presence, a nourishing presence, available to us now, in us and for us, empowering us to be peace for the world. This is a wonderful picture of what our lives will be as we grow into the fullness of Christ. It's the promise of a new kind of holiness and peace and well-being coming into our lives. And underneath this picture, of course, is that beautiful richness of the Hebrew word shalom, with its multiple meanings of peace and safety and fulfillment and joy. And there's nothing about Jesus' words that would suggest either that he's promising us an end to problems or that he's inviting us to ignore them. Rather, he promises peace, not merely the cessation of disturbance, but instead a confident expectation and hope about the future. We know from many of the stories in Acts and from the news we see every day that the new heaven and the new earth have not yet bloomed into the fullness of peace and safety in our warring world. But as we wait and hope for that day, the Spirit brings Jesus and his Father to live with us now, even as it did with Paul and Barnabas. As we grow in all the characteristics of God's life, in love and compassion and generosity and mercy and justice and forgiveness, wisdom, honesty, faithfulness, we too will catch glimpses of a peace and safety that pass all understanding. For when we live by faith, heaven is not a far and alien country, but rather we find ourselves dwelling, some of the time at least, in the suburbs of the New Jerusalem. And moments come when we're granted sights of its splendor, often when we least expect this to happen. So our call is to be open and vulnerable to God and to the Spirit's action in our lives. We're to hold on to that vision of a city transformed and to know that our lives lived together are the living temple of God's presence and the sign of God's peace in a broken world. See you soon.